A child suddenly slams into my 5-month pregnant belly. Blood immediately pools on the floor. With trembling hands, I call my boyfriend Garrett Holloway and beg him to come get me as quickly as possible. But even after I am rushed into surgery and finally pulled back from the brink, he never shows up. But through the glass, I see him helping another woman into the hospital for a prenatal checkup. She only stumbled a little, and her husband got so worried he brought her to the hospital right away. Some people are just luckier than others. Not everyone gets a man who cares for them so attentively. Listening to the nurses whisper among themselves, I tighten my grip on the miscarriage report in my hand. Then I send a message to my family. I write, "Mom, I'll go with your arrangement. I'm not marrying Garrett anymore." The nurses finish their gossip and glance back at me, lying helplessly in the hospital bed, unable to move. Their expressions shifted from envy to contempt. They filed out of the room, but their deliberately lowered voices still carried through the door. A miscarriage at her age, then why'd she go and get knocked up in the first place? I asked when I was filling out her forms. And she's not even married. Gosh, who knows what she's been getting up to out there. I lay numb on the bed. My heart felt like it had been torn apart. So many times there was nothing left to tear. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. "Have you finally come to your senses? I've told you 1,000 times. Sticking with a man while he builds himself from nothing is the worst deal a woman can make. You've been together for 5 years. You were carrying his child. Yet he hasn't said a single word about marriage. Come home. We have more than enough money. You could find 100 men like him." Mom was the most clear-headed woman I'd ever known. Years ago, some broke nobody had chased her for 7 straight years. And she never once looked back. She poured every ounce of attention into herself, and ended up marrying my father, a Prescott. I'd always thought she was shallow, that she didn't understand what love was. But it turned out I was the naive one, believing everything could be justified by it. I replied with a single okay, dragged my weak body out of bed, and took a cab home. The moment I pushed open the front door, I saw Garrett Holloway standing there with a spoon in his hand, feeding Sienna Cole a prenatal tonic. One careful sip at a time. "Kira, you're back. So soon?" He stood up and set the bowl behind his back, guilt written all over his face. I recognized that tonic. It was for stabilizing a pregnancy. So he'd taken Sienna to the hospital and confirmed she was carrying a child. Sienna wasn't feeling well, so I told her to rest here for a bit, Garrett explained. He walked toward me with an ingratiating smile. "You're back early, so the baby must be fine, right?" I knew it. We've been so careful. Nothing was going to go wrong. Garrett reached out to touch my stomach, still smiling. I slapped his hand away before he could touch me. He froze where he stood, the smile disappearing from his face. Sienna spoke up from the side, quick to defend him. "Kira, Garrett was really worried about you. The second he got the call, he rushed to the hospital. If you want to blame someone, blame me." I started feeling sick out of nowhere, and it held him up. She lowered her eyes with a look of self-reproach. The power of early pregnancy gave her just the right amount of fragile beauty, and something like tenderness flickered across Garrett's face. After a pause, he offered to go make something to eat for both of us, and disappeared into the kitchen. Sienna waited for the kitchen door to close. The 2 tears that had been threatening to spill vanished without a trace. She picked up the bowl from the nightstand and stirred it idly. A completely different person from the one she'd been moments ago. "See, that's where you're not smart about it, Kira. Men are simple. You show a little weakness, play a little helpless, and they'll treat you like you're precious. You're always fighting him head-on. No wonder he'd rather have me stay late at the office with him than come home to you." My gaze dropped to Sienna's long, slender fingers, showing weakness and playing helpless. If I'd actually done that, Garrett would never have climbed to where he was today, not without my help. I walked toward her, one slow step at a time. I took the bowl of tonic from her hands and smiled. "You didn't stir this well enough. It won't work if you drink it like this." Sienna looked at me, her smug smile faltering. It shifted into weary confusion as she tried to read what I was about to do. The corner of my mouth lifted, and I flicked my wrist. Scalding tonic splashed across Sienna's face. Garrett came running at the sound of Sienna's scream. He took one look at the dark liquid dripping down her face, and the air left his lungs. You're a preschooler. What the hell are you doing? Garrett grabbed a towel and frantically wiped at the mess. But the second it touched Sienna's face, she screamed again. It hurts, Garrett. My face. It hurts so bad. He rounded on me, finally losing what was left of his patience. What is wrong with you? Sienna's too nice to fight back. So you just dump all your anger on her. Is this how you were raised? He scooped Sienna up in his arms and brushed past me without sparing me a second glance. The sound of the front door slamming shut echoed through the apartment. I didn't know how long I stood there before my phone chimed. Sienna had put up a new social media post and tagged me in it. The photo was taken at a hospital. It showed her stomach still flat with a large hand resting on it. The watch on that wrist was the one I'd given Garrett for our anniversary. The baby is 3 months along, and just between us, the daddy is kind of a big deal. A handful of comments from coworkers had already piled up underneath. Don't even have to guess it. It's Mr. Holloway, right? I always felt like there was something going on between you two. You haven't even been his assistant that long, and you're already becoming Mrs. Holloway. Congrats. I was still scrolling when a private message from Leanne Jacobs popped up. I saw Sienna's post. Are you okay? Leanne had worked under me for 3 years. He was the only person at the company who knew about my relationship with Garrett. I exited the post and typed a quick reply. I'm fine. I'd weathered worse storms than this. A petty little provocation like this wasn't going to make me lose my composure. Leanne sent back a hugging emoji. I stared at it, and my mind drifted to the day Holloway Group was first established. Garrett had held me in his arms and said he finally had the means to give me a better life. He said we'd have a beautiful child together, that our family would be his whole world. Now I'd lost the baby, and he couldn't even tell. After a pause, I typed again. Pull the plug on the Prescott Group project. Leanne took a long time to reply before finally sending back a simple okay. Hallmark Group had been struggling lately. That project was one I'd gone behind Garrett's back to secure, personally asking Dad for the favor. But a man this rotten didn't deserve any of it anymore. I liked Sienna's post, tossed my phone aside, and fell into a dreamless sleep. The next morning, I went to the office. I was about to push open Garrett's door when a passing employee stepped in front of me. He wore a knowing expression and kept his voice low. Miss Prescott, you might want to wait. Miss Cole is inside. After last night's post, everyone had decided their relationship was as good as official. They were all quietly making room for Garrett and Sienna to have their privacy. I smiled and held up the resignation letter in my hand. I'm here to resign. Do I need Miss Cole's permission for that, too? The color drained from his face. Everyone knew I was the backbone of this company. More than half the revenue came through me. They also knew I was someone who'd practically given my life to this place. Even if Garrett quit tomorrow, I wouldn't leave. He knocked on the door in a hurry, visibly rattled. I didn't wait for Garrett to say come in, and walked straight through. Inside the office, Sienna was perched on the edge of Garrett's desk. She was toying with a photograph. The one taken of Garrett and me in front of the building the day the company launched. He'd had it carefully framed and placed in the most prominent spot in his office. Garrett stood up from his chair when he saw me. He'd clearly seen Sienna's post from last night because for once, there was a trace of guilt on his face. He told Sienna to step out, then turned to me. Sienna's pregnant with my child. But don't worry, that won't change your position as the future Mrs. Holloway. That post last night was just a joke. You went after Sienna first, and she was just upset. I didn't respond. My eyes had landed on the photograph Sienna had tossed carelessly on the floor. Garrett followed my gaze and noticed it too. After a beat, he walked over and picked it up, but he didn't put it back in the frame. At the end of the day, you shouldn't have taken it out on Sienna. This is all on me. I pulled the photograph from his hands and tore it in half right in front of him. Then I placed the resignation letter on his desk. Mr. Holloway, sign this. Garrett's brow furrowed deeply. He instinctively reached for the torn pieces. But the moment he registered the words resignation letter, his expression twisted into fury. What the hell do you want? I met his gaze calmly. To make room for Sienna. That shut him up for a second, and his face went white with anger. Then something clicked, and his voice dropped low. Did you go running to your mother? This is her idea, isn't it? She's never liked me, always finding some new way to make my life difficult. If she's got that much free time, maybe she should keep a better eye on her own husband. And clear some space on the tabloid front pages instead of the slap landed before he could finish. My voice was ice. Garrett Holloway, a man pathetic enough to get his mistress pregnant, has no business talking about my family. Garrett stared into my eyes, and something in them made him flinch. Before he could say a word, a scream came from outside. A female employee burst through the door panicked. Mr. Holloway, something happened. Sienna, she's bleeding. There's so much blood. He shoved past me before she had even finished speaking. The corner of the desk caught me right in the lower abdomen, and a wave of cold sweat broke over my entire body. I slid to the floor. Blood was already spreading between my legs. The employee who'd rushed and saw me and scrambled over. Miss Prescott, are you okay? Someone call an ambulance. They got me into the ER fast enough that there wasn't any lasting damage. Mom called while I was still at the hospital. She sounded furious. Garrett just called and told me to stay out of your relationship. What? What is that supposed to mean? He can't even keep his own company from falling apart. Yet he's got the nerve to cheat. And then he has the audacity to come swinging at me about it? Where are you right now? Come home. I told her where I was. There was a long silence on the other end before she let out a cold, bitter laugh. Put you back in the hospital again? Fine. Don't worry about it. I'll handle this. Time for Halloween group to go under. After the call ended, I sat in the hallway and waited quietly for the results. Garrett came out of the room next door with Sienna leaning on his arm. The second she saw me, Sienna's eyes went red, and fat tears rolled down her cheeks. Garrett stared at me, his face dark. You practically made Sienna lose this baby. Are you happy now? I didn't even look up. Sienna's been scheming so hard to take my place. Funny how it never occurred to her to just ask me for it. I smiled and added, I would have given it to her. Kira, Garrett roared, his expression murderous. How long are you going to keep this up? I already told you nobody is taking your place. What more do you want? I rested a hand over my flat stomach and looked at Garrett with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Garrett, let's break up. The angry words he was about to say died in his throat as something seemed to occur to him. He pinched the bridge of his nose and exhaled. Forget it. You're pregnant. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm telling you one last time, stop saying things like that. His eyes were cold when they settled on me. You're carrying my child. If you leave me now, where are you gonna go? Who's gonna want you? I almost laughed. He sounded exactly like the impression Mom used to do when she was trying to talk me out of being with him. The voice a man got when he decided a woman couldn't leave. It was identical. The door to the exam room opened, and the doctor stepped out, chart in hand. Kira Prescott, scarring from your recent miscarriage hasn't fully healed yet. You'll need to be very careful to avoid any further trauma to the area. Understood. Thank you, doctor. I took the chart, and in the next second, there was a sharp rustle as the medical forms Garrett had been holding for Sienna scattered across the floor. What did she just say? Who had a miscarriage? Garrett stood frozen. For a long moment, the hallway went completely silent except for the distant beeping of heart monitors. His lips parted. What did she just say? The doctor frowned at him. Miss Prescott miscarried several days ago. Didn't you come in with her when she was admitted? Garrett's face drained of color. What? No. There has to be some mistake. The doctor looked between them, confusion quickly giving way to annoyance. There wasn't any mistake. She was brought in with severe abdominal trauma and heavy bleeding. We did everything we could, but the fetus couldn't be saved. He glanced at Garrett's stunned expression. You were listed as the father. Then the doctor walked away. The chart slipped from Garrett's fingers. Paper fluttered across the polished floor. Kira. His voice cracked. Our baby. I tucked the report under my arm. There isn't an our baby anymore. His breathing became uneven. When? The day you ignored my calls. His eyes widened. No. The day you drove Sienna here because she felt a little dizzy. No. The day I begged you to come. Each sentence landed like a hammer. Garrett staggered backward. I didn't know. You never asked. I thought you were fine. You decided I was fine. His mouth opened and closed helplessly. I would have come if I'd known. I looked at him quietly. But you didn't know because you never bothered to find out. His shoulders collapsed. For the first time in 5 years, Garrett Holloway looked small. Sienna suddenly grabbed his sleeve. Garrett, my stomach still hurts. He didn't even react. His eyes never left mine. Our baby. His voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. I smiled faintly. It was the kind of smile reserved for strangers. I know. His eyes lit up for one desperate second. Then I continued. And it doesn't matter anymore. That tiny spark died instantly. He reached toward me. Kira, please, let's go home. We'll try again. We can have another baby. I took one step back. No. We can fix this. No. I'll end everything with Sienna. No. I'll marry you tomorrow. I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound echoed through the hallway so sharply that even the nurses looked over. Garrett. You think I'm leaving because you cheated? He stared blankly. I'm leaving because when our child was dying, you chose someone else. Silence. There are some choices, I said softly, that only need to be made once. I walked past him. He didn't stop me. He couldn't. 3 days later, Holloway Group received an official notice. The Prescott Group had terminated every partnership effective immediately. Every pending investment. Cancelled. Every line of credit. Frozen. Every joint project. Withdrawn. Within hours, the company's emergency board meeting descended into chaos. How much funding did we just lose? Nearly 60% of next year's projected revenue. Our banks are already asking questions. The suppliers are demanding payment up front. One executive slammed his fist onto the conference table. Mr. Holloway, you told us the Prescott partnership was guaranteed. Garrett stared numbly at the termination letter. At the bottom was a single signature. Kira Prescott. Not his girlfriend. Not his fiancée. Not the woman who had spent 5 years building his dream beside him. Just Vice President, Prescott Group. The realization hit him all at once. The Prescott project. The investors. Several major clients. None of them had believed in Holloway Group. They had believed in Kira. She had quietly been opening every door for him. And now, she had quietly closed every one. One after another, Garrett's phone began ringing. The bank. Investors. Shareholders. Reporters. His assistant rushed into the room. Mr. Holloway. The media somehow found Miss Cole's social media posts. They're calling this a workplace affair. Several clients are threatening to terminate their contracts. Another manager burst through the door. Our largest supplier just canceled shipments. They said Prescott Group warned them about our financial instability. Garrett sank into his chair. For the first time since founding Holloway Group, he understood what real fear felt like. Meanwhile, across the city, I sat in my parents' garden, watching koi drift lazily through the pond. Mother poured tea into my cup. No regrets. I looked at the sunset. Only one. She raised an eyebrow. I should have left sooner. Mother smiled. Good. Because tomorrow. She slid a thick folder across the table. You're taking over the European division. I opened it. At the very back was a small envelope. Inside, an invitation. A charity gala hosted by the city's wealthiest families. Mother smiled knowingly. There are quite a few impressive young men attending. I laughed softly. I'm not looking for a husband. I know. She squeezed my hand. This time, I'm looking for someone worthy of my daughter. The following Monday, Garrett arrived at Holloway Group before sunrise. The lobby, once bustling with optimism, felt eerily quiet. His CFO was already waiting outside his office. We have a problem. Garrett gave a tired laugh. Only one. The man didn't smile. 3 investors pulled out overnight. They specifically cited the loss of the Prescott partnership. And our operating loan. He slid a letter across the desk. The bank is demanding additional collateral. Garrett's fingers tightened around the paper. No. He immediately grabbed his phone and called Kira. The call rang once. then disconnected. He called again. Blocked. Across town, Kira walked into Prescott Group headquarters. Executives who hadn't seen her in years stood to greet her. Welcome back, Miss Prescott. The board is waiting. The boardroom doors opened. Her father smiled proudly. I believe everyone already knows my daughter. Around the table, directors nodded respectfully. One of them chuckled. So you're the woman who secretly built Holloway Group. Another added, we've reviewed the numbers. You increased their annual revenue by over 300%. And Mr. Holloway apparently thought he did that alone. A few amused smiles appeared around the room. Kira simply replied, it was a team effort. No bitterness. No anger. Just fact. Her father slid another folder toward her. Holloway Group has submitted a request to bid on the harbor redevelopment project. It'll be the biggest contract this year. The room fell quiet. Everyone knew Garrett desperately needed it. Her father asked calmly, should we allow them to compete? Kira opened the proposal. It was familiar. Very familiar. Because she had written almost the entire framework months ago. She closed the folder. No. A director hesitated. They'll accuse us of retaliation. She shook her head. They're welcome to submit another proposal. This one contains confidential material developed while I was still consulting for them. If we accepted it, Prescott Group would be exposing itself to legal risk. Every lawyer in the room nodded. Perfectly reasonable. Perfectly legal. Perfectly devastating. That afternoon, Garrett stormed into the procurement office. They rejected us. The project manager swallowed. They said the proposal contained work product belonging to Miss Prescott. Garrett froze. What? The manager quietly pushed a file toward him. Every major innovation. Every financial model. Every long-term projection. Had Kira's authorship attached to it. He remembered countless nights. She had stayed awake until 2 a.m. He had fallen asleep on the couch. Every time he woke up, another completed report was waiting on his desk. He had signed his name. She had never asked for credit. Now there was a paper trail. Every email. Every draft. Every revision. Every timestamp. His shoulders sagged. Oh. The following week another blow landed. Leanne walked into Garrett's office carrying a small stack of envelopes. I'm resigning. So are 12 members of the strategy department. And 6 project managers. Garrett looked up sharply. What? Leanne placed the resignations on his desk. We came because we believed in Miss Prescott. We stayed because she asked us to. She's gone now. Garrett stood abruptly. You can't all leave. Leanne met his eyes. We already have. She turned and walked out. By Friday, nearly half of the senior staff had resigned. Not because Kira had asked them to. She hadn't contacted a single one. They simply chose the leader who had actually led them. Meanwhile, Kira attended the harbor redevelopment signing ceremony. Reporters surrounded her. Miss Prescott, is it true Holloway Group lost the contract because of your resignation? She smiled politely. Prescott Group evaluates proposals on merit and compliance. Nothing more. Do you have anything to say about Mr. Holloway? She considered the question. Then answered. I sincerely hope every company succeeds through its own abilities. It creates healthier competition. Nothing cruel. Nothing dramatic. Yet everyone understood the message. Build your own success. Don't expect someone else's work to carry you. Late that evening, Garrett sat alone in his dark office. The framed photo he had once repaired lay face down in a drawer. The office felt much larger now. Much emptier. His phone buzzed. A notification. Prescott Group announces record quarter following strategic leadership appointment. The accompanying photograph showed Kira standing confidently beside her parents after signing the harbor redevelopment agreement. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was smiling naturally while discussing plans with her team. She looked happy. Without him. Garrett stared at the picture for a long time before quietly locking his phone. For the first time, he stopped thinking about how to win her back. Instead, he was forced to confront something much harder. He had mistaken loyalty for permanence. By the time he realized her worth, She had already chosen a future that no longer included him.